podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
And welcome back to How We're the Podcast. It's Gav, and you join us for a quick look at the latest goings on in the world of Sunderland ahead of the game with Preston on Tuesday evening. I'm joined here by Jonny Hawley, making his first appearance on this iteration of our podcast. Hello, mate.
All right, Gav, how are you doing, mate?
I'm very, 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 very good. We've got a game on Tuesday, and there's other bits and pieces we didn't manage to talk about on the other pods we've done this week. So I thought, why not? Let's do a quick reaction to some of the bits and bobs going on around the world of Sunderland. I guess first off, we'll talk about the press conference today that Regis Le Bris had with the media, the assorted press pack from all over the northeast, really. Nick Barnes usually leading those things. The big news coming out of that one was that Paddy Roberts is available for the game on Tuesday, which I wasn't expecting, if I'm honest. I thought when he went off in the game at the weekend, I thought he might be out for a little while, especially when the manager wouldn't really be drawn on it after the game, would he? He was kind of coy on what he said about it. He was like, well, we'll have to wait and see how it is tomorrow and stuff. So to hear that he's available for the game on Tuesday is actually pleasing, because I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, Paddy Roberts, but I like him. I think he offers the team a lot, and he got an assist the other day. So I think that's good news, isn't it?
You'd sooner have him available, wouldn't you? Like, yeah. You know, if you have the choice, you're always going to want all your senior players fit. But you're right, I thought exactly the same, with Le Bris being so coy about it and refusing to be drawn. 9 times out of 10 this season, that's meant somebody's going to be out for, well, they'd say 6 to 8 weeks, but we all know that can be closer to 14 to 16 weeks, really. So I know it's good news, I think. And I agree as well. I think he's played all right recently, really. Got the assist, like you say, the other day. And I just think in general, he offers quite a lot going forward that not many other players in the squad can give. So yeah, just to have him as an option more than anything else. I mean, take that as a positive every day.
Yeah, I'm a fan of him. I think the criticisms you hear about Paddy Roberts, though, they are relatively fair in most cases. Like, you know, you've got to look at his end product. He doesn't score enough goals. He doesn't get enough assists. But I think the fact that he's played under virtually every manager as a regular that he's had, I think in fact every manager has been really high on Paddy Roberts. I think that says a lot about what he adds to the team. And I think it was Martin on the review pod said this, but I think he's almost viewed differently in that he's not really a winger. He's more of a playmaker. He gets involved in all aspects of our attack and play. So whilst he's not, you know, always notching assists and banging them in, he is involved in most of the important moves that we have. So it is good news, because I was just getting a little bit worried about the amount of injuries we're picking up, particularly in those sort of areas. You know, we're just getting Mundell back, we're just getting Watson back, but then Lafay is out injured, and you think, oh, we could really do without losing someone else. Perveda's obviously out as well. So, I mean, whilst a lot of the criticisms of him are fair, I think he's been a really important part of the team this season, hasn't he?
Oh, 100%. And like you say, with players only just coming back from injury in Watson and Mundell, the last thing that we need is, if Roberts is out, then it just means that we're going to have to over-rely on those two, you'd presume, quite a lot more over the next few weeks than Le Bris or the medical staff will want. So I think it's just as important in keeping those two fit and fresh as they come back as it is for what Roberts brings to the team. And again, like you say, Perveda, I mean, saying he's injured is so much less of a surprise than anything else. I mean, it feels like he's been fit for about 4 weeks this season, but I
think that's being generous, if I'm honest.
I mean, with that many wingers either crocked or coming back, the last thing you need is another body going down. And I also think, like you say as well, the way that Roberts plays, he does get so involved. And yes, you can quibble sometimes. Is he clinical enough? Probably not. You know, how many actual goals and assists does he get? But just to be on the ball and involved so much means if you take him out the team, there's naturally going to be a bit of a hole left, isn't there? And you don't want to be scrabbling around trying to find someone to fill it with, you know, whatever it is now, 10 games left to go, there or thereabouts. You know, we want to have as settled as a team as we can, particularly going into the playoffs.
Yeah, we were talking about whether it might be a case that, because obviously prior to the press conference when we did the last couple of pods, we were talking about what he might do, and I mean, there's no guarantee we'll actually start, but at the tone of what Le Bris said, I think he's probably going to be playing. But we were trying to work out like what he would do if he didn't play. So let's just work on the assumption he might not play. He might be on the bench because he's had a knock or whatever. What would you do? Because there are options when you think Watson's there. He could put Rig there. He could go with 2 up front. I mean, he's got options. Even though we've just said you could do without losing him, there are still plenty of options available to the manager to change things if he wants to.
Yeah, I think the option that I'd want to see, and I think most fans would want to see, would be to have Mayenda and Isidore playing together. Now, whether that means Mayenda starts more on the right wing and is cutting inside, or whether it means they actually do play up front as a pair, particularly with it being, a game that we should be winning. That's what I'd want to see. And it's just more exciting, isn't it? How much better were we to watch when them two were up front together? But as to what I think he would do if Roberts wasn't fit, I think it's much more likely to be that one or the other of Mayenda and Isidore plays, and then possibly you see Alan Brown shuffled out further to the right-hand side. He's kind of filled in there a little bit at times this season, not generally from the start, but maybe something like that, because when he's been given the opportunity to shuffle his team a bit at various points in the season, Le Bris has not been massively keen on over relying on forward players. It's been very much a midfielder's 11 this season, I think, from Sunderland. So, yeah, like I said, I'd want to say Mayenda and Isidore without a shadow of a doubt, but I would be surprised if that was Le Bris's go-to. But fingers crossed we don't have to worry about it, and Roberts is just fit anyway.
Yeah. Well, he might do it for the weekend, mightn't he? He might go with Roberts on Tuesday night, and then maybe factor in going to 2 up front at Coventry. I don't know. Other bits and bobs from the press conference. He was talking about our strength, and the strength of the team is our ability to change it up when scoring goals, which has actually been something that a lot of people think were quite predictable. So it's interesting for him to come out and say that he actually thinks, if you look at the variety of the goals we score, it shows that we aren't predictable. And that one just struck me as interesting. I know that's his favourite word, isn't it? Interesting, but it is genuinely interesting that that's his view on this team, because maybe he's heard some of that criticism and he's like, actually, no. If you look at the way we score goals, we're quite varied in our play.
Yeah, I think in a way he's right, but he's almost missing the point, if you know what I mean, because I think he is right that when you look at the way that we score goals and the actual variety of chances that we create, if you want to phrase it that way, that I think he's probably onto something. Even just look at Isidore's goals this season. It's like a running joke that he only scores worldies, but he's had goals from low balls from the wings. He's had through balls over the top. Goals where he's had to nick the ball off somebody, or we've kind of nicked the ball in a dangerous place. The goal against Hull away earlier in the season where he sprints half the pitch. So even just in one player's goal catalogue, you've got quite a lot of stuff going on. But I think what most fans probably think, and what I personally think as well, is it's not the predictability in the way that we play on the ball. It's predictability in the approach, in that we score a goal and then you just know we're not going to go hard for a second. And I think that's the area where it does become predictable after a while, because opposition teams can almost take a bit of comfort when they concede at knowing, right, they've got their goal now, they're not going to come at us again, we can regroup and we can try and hit them back here. Which I think, you almost saw that play out on Saturday afternoon. I mean, we get the early goal, we don't press the advantage, Cardiff come back into the game, and then thankfully, we end up nicking the second goal and winning the game. But I think it's a bit of a microcosm for the season, really. So, yeah, I take his point, but he's not out of the woods just yet.
No. Moving on a little bit. Jewison Bennette's left the club. He's joined Ukrainian Premier League side. I'm going to butcher this. FC LNZ Cherkasy. He's joined them on a permanent deal for an undisclosed fee, which I don't imagine will have been very much.
No.
But it's still a big bit of news. I mean, it's unusual for a player to leave in March. I think it was inevitable that he would leave at some point. The writing's been on the wall for a while with Jewison Bennette, and unfortunately, he just really hasn't had the opportunities. And I mean, I don't know if you read his Instagram post, but He basically thanked everybody. He thanked the tea lady, the kit man, the lads who water the pitch, the people who stack the Lucozade bottles on a match day. He thanked the people who put the tablecloths out in the Montgomery suite, and he thanked everybody apart from anybody to do with the first team on the coaching side of things, or the owner or anything like that, which was telling, wasn't it? I mean, I've been a bit of an advocate in the past for Jewison Bennette. I was one of the fans sat there going, why is he not getting more of a chance? Because when we do see him, he's a bit erratic, but he's got something. Like, there's something there with Jewison Bennette. He's definitely got talent. He works hard on the pitch. But, there's something there. We've got to mould him, and he just never got that opportunity, and it's a bit of a shame, isn't it, to see him leave? I know a lot of fans weren't ever sold on him, and I've seen a lot of people just saying, well, he was shite. But I actually am a little bit disappointed with this one, because I don't know if did he really get a fair chance in the first team? I'm not so sure he did.
Yeah, I don't think he did either. Look, is selling Jewison Bennette going to be the end of Sunderland AFC? No, I don't think. No. I don't think we're really even going to notice he's gone to the end of the season, because, like you say, he was never getting a crack anyway.
Well, he's never played for 18 months, so it's been that long. I think his last appearance in the first team was that assist he got against Southampton, wasn't it?
The triple pirouette. Yeah. But I think it says a lot, though, that was his last appearance, and on his last appearance, he actually created a goal. And I agree with you that I think it was strange he wasn't given more chances. Now, what led to that behind the scenes, we might never know. We certainly weren't privy to the conversations that he was having with the first team coach and staff that he refused to thank in his Instagram post. The only thing I do wonder is, does it maybe send a poor message to other young players looking at Sunderland, in a sense? Now, I don't think it's going to override all the good work we've done with, point at any young member of the squad, and they've all been given loads of chances. But I feel like Jewi, every time he got the chance, he did kind of take it. He got that assist against Southampton. I remember he scored that goal in the 2-2 draw against Watford, away from home in that first season back in the Championship.
He got the assist. I think was it against Coventry when Ahmad scored. We were terrible, and it was really late in the game, and Ahmad scored. I think it might have been 2-1 or 3-1 or something.
I remember that Ahmad goal. It could well have been Jewison as well.
It was definitely his cross, but I'm pretty sure it was against Coventry. But you're right, though. That's where I'm a bit stuck on this. Is that whilst I understand people who say like maybe he's just not good enough. Obviously, if he was good enough, he would have made it.
Aye,
but I just think when he did get chances, he was okay. Like, and even in pre-season, when I've watched him for the under-21s, I think I watched a game for the under-21s where they were might have been getting beat 4-0 or 5-0 against Man United, and they came back to fives each, and he was absolutely outstanding. I can just remember watching it going, at least he's grafting, at least he's trying his best to get a chance. Even it's the under-21s, he doesn't want to be in there, but he was trying. And just for me, something must have happened behind the scenes, like, because he got bombed out the 21s as well. He wasn't even sort of from October onwards, wasn't it? Something like that. Yeah. He wasn't even getting a game for them. So something's obviously happened. You can read into his comments. You can look at the way that he hasn't been getting even anywhere near the bench. But yeah, I'm just a bit gutted for him, if I'm honest. I think he came here and I was quite optimistic about this teenage international coming over. And let's not forget, he played in the World Cup while he was a Sunderland player.
Yeah.
He played in the Qatar World Cup. He played all 3 games, I think. So, like, for a young kid to get all those opportunities, and then, I mean, he's gone to Ukraine, which I think that's just like, this is literally your last opportunity to leave, because no other transfer window is probably open. He's just gone there. I mean, if you think it's difficult integrating into society in Sunderland, you're going to struggle in Ukraine, I think.
I was just going to say, it shows you how much you must have fell out with somebody behind the scenes. If you go into an active war zone, it's more pleasant than staying and trying to get in our under-21s. But
I did see him once wandering around Asda, just staring at fabric softener, and I was just like, oh, poor bastard. I mean, it must be hard enough being a teenager, moving halfway across the world, and being totally alien to what's going on and all that. But I mean, not even being able to speak the language and trying I just felt sorry for him. But every time I used to see him out and about, because he was always in my supermarket for some reason, he just looked really confused, phone in his hand on FaceTime with his mum, trying to work out what to buy. It was just, bless him.
He could have done with some advice from his mum on how to get in the bloody first team, but I don't know how much.
She might have had some advice that he took. Maybe she told him, "Tell your boss to fuck off," and that's why he's been bombed out. So yeah, we wish him well. I think at least the club got a bit of money. I don't imagine it'll have been very much. But yeah, fair enough. At least I think you got the nail on the head. I don't think it's going to define our future, the fact that we've lost Jewison Bennette. But maybe it harms our chances of scouring that market down the line. Maybe the next Costa Rican Messi, who appears isn't going to want to come to Sunderland based on the way the old Jewi's been treated. Other than that, Preston team news ahead of the game. I noticed that Osmajic, the controversial Serbian striker who's been missing for a couple of games, I think he looks like he's going to be playing against us. So that should be interesting. They've got a few players who've been missing recently. I think Fratia, who's their key playmaker, he's going to be out though, which is good news. I'll just quickly grab your thoughts on Preston, I guess, because they're bang in the middle of the table. They're pretty much, well, they're not going to get into the playoffs. They're not going to be anywhere near the relegation zone. Very typical Preston season. But I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing for us to be playing them at this stage, because with all these games left, like if you're Preston, you're probably looking at this and thinking, well, it's just another game, isn't it? But are they going to turn up and just put 11 behind the ball and bore us to death, or what? I mean, it's a tough one to gauge, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm really in two minds about it as well. Because like you say, they could easily come and just stick 10 behind the ball and then, it turns into a horrible afternoon or evening for us. But I suppose on the other hand, if you're looking a bit more positively at it, the pressure's kind of off them, isn't it? Because like you say, they're right in the middle of the table. There's not much jeopardy upwards or downwards for them. So it could be one of them kind of cliched, they come and the pressure's off and they play some good stuff and they're quite open. And I think if they go that way and they actually do come and try and play and get at us a bit, we've been saying it most of the season, haven't we? I think we play our best against teams who want to try and get up the pitch a bit more, leave them spaces in behind that we can then try and exploit. So I'm hoping it's one of them, because to be fair as well, we're writing them off the playoff, the playoff race, which is understandable, but this is a mental division. Anything could happen between now and the end of the season. So
true. Yeah.
There'll be Preston fans sat there thinking, well, if we sneak a win at Sunderland and then we back it up with a win at the weekend and then go on a bit of a run, we might be right up there come the end of the season. So you've got to hope that they'll at least have that level of pressure from their own fans where they're expecting them to still go and try and win the game. Because I think that'll play into our hands. But yeah, I'm just, like you said before, I'm braced for some sort of massive controversy from Osmajic coming out of the game. There'll be some sort of FA investigation and six red cards.
Him and 09 could be fun, couldn't it? When you think about it.
Yeah, I'm sure 09...
They're going to try their best to wind each other up, I think.
Yeah, I would think so. And that might be one of the few occasions where I don't have 100% confidence in 09 to win that battle as well. Because I think if anyone can wind 09 up, Osmajic must be right near the top of that list in this league.
Yes, and we'll just round off very quickly. Unlucky Sunderland women, they lost 3-1 away at Man United in the FA Cup quarter-final at the weekend. A valiant effort, I think, considering... Manchester United women are one of the top teams in the WSL, but yeah, the lasses, they weren't able to get into the FA Cup semi-finals, but they'll be proud of their efforts. So, hard lines, ladies, unlucky. Cheers, Johnny. Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers, Gav.
Brief, short and sweet. Cheers to the listeners. We will be back with a reaction pod, hot on the heels of the full-time whistle on Tuesday night with Chris and Martin. So that will be on your feeds very late after the game. So if you're a night owl or you're abroad, you might thank us for that, because you'll have something to listen to after the game. But if not, you'll have the pod on your feed first thing in the morning, and then we're going to follow that up with a proper review of the game. And we're being joined by Nick Barnes from BBC Radio Newcastle, a regular on Rotor Report over the years. So we're looking forward to speaking to Nick. So make sure you check that out. If you aren't already subscribed, this is the first time you're hearing us, make sure you subscribe to How We're the Podcast on whatever podcast app you use. We're on Apple, Spotify, and all the other good pod apps that are out there. And that just leaves me to say thank you very much. We'll catch you on the next one.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.